Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever, wherever, and whoever you are, welcome to a little live video from me, Doug Payton, and the Consider This podcast. Well, I gotta say that I am excited about Karen Handel winning in the Georgia 6th District runoff over John Ossoff. I have a few notes here that I want to talk about just as by way of reaction. First of all, I want to talk about polls. I had a friend in a group blog a while back who I believe did a lot of work in this area, understanding polls and how they why a smaller sample is enough. You know, the amount of a smaller sample, why there's certain the margins of error are okay for certain samples, things like that. And he worked with statistics like that. So I understand the polling. You know, there is a science to it, and for a long time, it was a good way to gauge the feel of the electorate at a particular moment in time. Things have changed over the generations. Dewey defeats Truman being, one example of, pollsters thought at the time that nobody changed their mind after Labor Day or something like that, and they were wrong. But generally, they've been good. Lately, though, it just seems like it's not happening for them anymore. The poll a few days before the election had Ossoff up 2%. I saw a poll the day of, the 6 o'clock news when polls were closing at 7 yesterday, where they said that the polls then had Ossoff up by 0.1%, 0.1% ahead. It was going to be a squeaker. We might not know last night, whether who won, because it would probably be so close there would be a guaranteed recount. If it's in Georgia, if it's closer than I forget what the percentage is, but if it's if the difference is less than that, there's an automatic recount and the state pays for it. Handel won by 6%, and it's just amazing that that this kind of polling issue here just didn't really. I mean, and it always seems to go in a particular direction. For example, Trump was supposed to lose big, and the polls got it wrong in the Republican direction, conservative direction. Brexit, polls got it way wrong in the conservative direction. Again, polls for Georgia 6th, wrong in the conservative direction. It just always seems like it's one particular direction, that every time this happens, that's where the error is. And it almost sounds like it's self-fulfilling prophecy. I can't imagine that they would do this, because it really does destroy their credibility. But it's like, this is what I want. This is the outcome I would like. And so, but that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. I don't know what the answer is, but it's clearly polling really has an existential crisis on their hands, I think. All right. Anyway, enough about polls. I will note that Tom Price, who is now in the Trump administration, who had this seat before, won the last election that he was in this district by about a little more than 20%. 20%. And Handel won it by 6. So that's significant, and I think that the view of President Trump has something to do with that. He just needs to get away from Twitter. He really does. It's just insane. the man runs off at the mouth and just doesn't. We wanted an outsider, we got an outsider, somebody who does not understand how the political game is played, has a bit of an ego, quite a bit of an ego. So you're just the general feel for whether you like Donald Trump or not, I think probably played, something into that. On the other hand, John Ossoff outspent Karen Handel by 7-1. 7-1. You'd think that something like that much money pouring into a campaign would be enough to, close whatever gap there might be in a normally Republican district with a rather unpopular Republican president. Yet, that's what you'd think. You'd be wrong, though. And so I think that this, what Democrats will do with this number, say, well, it's closer. It was closer than Tom Price, so that's a referendum on Trump. Maybe. But in this election there was more money spent on this House race than anyone ever. And Democrats still couldn't pull it out. So, it just doesn't seem to me that without that and the barrage of political ads, I just saw them constantly on TV. It's too bad you can't target them to just the district. It would be nice, but you get Metro Atlanta TV stations and you get them all. But it just doesn't seem like that you can't say that it was closer, so that is a reflection on Trump. I have a feeling that if Ossoff hadn't had that much money to spend from folks outside of Georgia, that he wouldn't have done nearly as well. Like I said, a 7-1 advantage in money. Now, we have seen a number of other times where money poured into a political campaign doesn't result in a win. And it's getting to the point where the amount is not as much of a factor, it seems. Maybe it never was, but they tried to buy the seat, and the Georgia 6th district was not buying, was not selling. So anyway, so that's. There's that. There's the Trump popularity or unpopularity, but then there's, with that much money, certainly he should have done a lot better than that. So anyway, one last thing is that you've got Democrats spending. They spent $23.6 million on this campaign. And a lot of times what you'll hear from Democrats is, well, for other things, you spent money on that. That could have, been used for the people, not just whatever it was spent on that they didn't like. You could have used that money and spent it on this and such and such. Well, Glenn Reynolds, the Instapundit at instapundit.com, and that is not a paid endorsement, said the Democrats spent $23.6 million to make a symbolic run against Trump. Most of it came from Marin County, California, and Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts. So, this was all just and Karen Handel in her ads really pointed that out, that this was Pelosi was running, basically, in this district, and as moderate as John Ossoff tried to sound in his ads, he was being backed by the far left. Anyway, so let's run the numbers. Democrats might have been better off, considering that same amount would have bought, at $2.76 each, it could have bought 855,000 plus school lunches. It could have bought 236,000 elementary school textbooks if they were $100 each. And even it could have bought 956 Priuses. Think about it. You know, they could have spent that money in a better way. Anyway, so that's my reaction to the Georgia 6th special election, other than to say I'm happy about it. Now, it doesn't change anything in the House. It was Republican before, it's Republican now. But Democrats are 0-4 in these special elections. Every one of them they keep calling a referendum on Trump, and Trump keeps winning. If we're going to call it a referendum on Trump, you got to give him the credit. I give him some of the blame for the narrowness, but nonetheless, this is this whole bit about it was the election in 2016 was a fluke. Nobody really likes Trump. Nobody really wants the Republicans in there. Well, yes, they do. Thank you very much, and you just keep on considering this.